Ah, 2004. Such a simpler time. A happier time. No bills, no stress, no heartbreak. The only thing that was a big deal to me was that I was turning 5 that year. And why was 5 so badass? Because it's halfway to 10, baby, duh. Now, 20 years later, I'm sitting here in the second bedroom of my apartment, talking about Star Wars, trying not to talk too loud so the neighbors don't bang on the walls telling me to shut up.
Shut up!
It could be a lot worse for someone my age. It still hasn't really hit me yet that you can talk about something that came out 20 years ago and be referring to the early 2000s. That's crazy. Nevertheless, an insane amount of good movies and music came out in the year 2004. And of course, they all turned 20 this year. So let's talk about some of them, shall we? First up is Slipknot's third album, Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. I would say that this is arguably still Slipknot's best album. It's certainly my favorite. You know what? Just scratch that. Not even arguably their best album. This is definitively, objectively, their best album. Lamb of God's 2004 album, Ashes of the Wake, without a doubt holds a high spot on my favorites list of metal albums that have come out this century. I'm not a gigantic Lamb of God fan. I actually haven't even branched out outside of this album really, but every song on this album has been on my daily playlist for close to 5 years now. Alright, you can't even begin to talk about animated masterpieces with at least bringing up Shrek 2. The music, the writing, the character direction, the animation, this is everything you want a sequel to be. Even 20 years later, it's still a damn good time. Not their best album by any means, nor is it my favorite, but I do hold a special place in my heart for The System Has Failed, because of the solid several week stretch in high school that I had this album on repeat. Just because it's the second best in the trilogy doesn't mean I don't still love it. The second and final part to my favorite Quentin Tarantino story. Just one of the best comedy movies, just one of the best movies of all time. One of my absolute favorite Jim Carrey performances. One of my most watched and easily one of the most quotable movies of all time. An absolute classic. The Incredibles came out in 2004, and this movie is not on here because it's one of my favorites. It's on here because it's probably my hottest Pixar take. I don't see what everybody thinks is so great about this movie. Now, I like it. It's a great story and everything, but one of the best? It doesn't even begin to touch Pixar's best movies. Slam me down in the comments if you think I should be decapitated for this opinion. Now, the Polar Express is a yearly tradition in my family. We watch it every Christmas Eve before we go to bed. We've done this for as long as I can even remember. Actually, one of my earliest childhood memories is going to see this in the theater in 2004, I think the night before Thanksgiving. The Nintendo DS also came out in 2004, and that was a big part of my life for a couple years. This thing was also a huge part of my life for a little while, because every now and then my mom would let me use hers to call my friends. 2004 was also the first year that Star Wars was ever released on DVD, which also means a new special edition was released. I can almost guarantee that I made my parents buy each one of these movies before the year was over. Now, several things that I love also came out in 2014, but as far as the title of this video goes, 20 years sounds a little bit more grabbing than 10 years. 2014 saw the sequel to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Speaking of hot takes, this movie, top tier Spider-Man movie. Better than any movie Tom Holland has played Spider-Man in.
Boo! You stink!
Unironically, one of my favorite superhero movies. I was introduced and began really liking Slipknot at around a month before this album came out. So when it dropped, I was in prime time Slipknot mode. And this album was on repeat for a long period of my high school career. Best X-Men movie. Amazing movie. Easily in my top 20 of all time. Guardians of the Galaxy was an interesting left turn, if you will, for the MCU. And I just so happened to be at the exact right age to find it absolutely badass. Excellent horror movie. Star Wars Rebels actually first aired in 2014. While this isn't my favorite Star Wars show or anything, it has a lot of really good moments that I go back and watch often. 2014 also hosted the debut album of Strokes frontman Julian Casablancas' experimental side project, The Voids, entitled Tyranny. And while I think that their sophomore album, Virtue, is a little bit better in regards to listening front to back, their first album still has Human Sadness on it, so it's a little bit hard to beat. Guys, if you think that there are some things from the last 20 years that I missed out on this list, or the last 10 years, let me know down in the comments some things that you love that are turning 10 and 20 this year. This is a video idea I would like to try and do every year. So if you like this kind of content, let me know. Like this video, hit subscribe. I've been the Metalhead Jedi. Thanks for watching.